involved in all of this, someone whose role in what has been said surprised me more than anyone else's, someone whose words landed differently because of who they are to you or who you believe them to be, someone you trusted in a particular way that made what I found out feel like a specific and personal kind of betrayal rather than just the general unkindness of people who don't know you well enough to deserve an opinion. And this is the part I have been most hesitant to tell you. This is the part I have gone back and forth about the most, the part where I kept asking myself whether knowing this would help you, or whether it would simply add weight to something you are already carrying. But I keep coming back to the same conclusion I always come back to when I am deciding whether to tell you something difficult. You deserve the truth. You have always deserved the truth. And I would rather be the one who gives it to you gently than let you find out some other way, in some other context, without anyone there who loves you to help you hold it. So I am going to tell you. I am going to tell you who it was. I am going to tell you exactly what they said. And I am going to tell you what I think it means, and what I think you should do with it, and how I think you should let yourself feel about it, without letting it change the fundamental thing about you that made them feel the need to say it in the first place. But before I do, I need you to do something for me. I need you to take a breath, a real one, the kind that goes all the way down. Because what I am about to say is going to ask something of you. It is going to ask you to hold something painful and something important at the same time. And I know you can do that. I have watched you do that more times than you know. But I still want you to be ready. I still want you to be settled. Be fully here with me before I say the name and the words that go with it. Because once I say it, you cannot unknow it. And I want to make sure that when you receive this, you receive it with me standing right beside you rather than from a distance. I want you to feel my presence in this moment as clearly as if I were in the same room. Are you ready? Are you actually with me right now? Okay? Here it is. The person who said the most damaging things, the things that went furthest, the things that traveled the widest through those spaces you didn't know existed, was someone you considered a safe place. Not a distant acquaintance. Not someone on the edges of your life who never really knew you. Someone you let in. Someone you made room for in the part of yourself that you don't open easily. The part that requires trust built over time and consistent proof of care. Someone you believed was in your corner. And the reason I know exactly how much you trusted this person is because of the specific things they said. The level of detail in what they shared. The intimacy of the information they had access to. You cannot know those things about a person unless that person let you close. And you let them close. And they used that closeness not to protect you but to build a more convincing case against you. I am not going to tell you exactly who it is in this moment. I know that might frustrate you. I know part of you wants the name immediately, wants the clarity, wants to be able to put a face to what I am describing so you can begin making sense of it. And I will give you that. I promise I will give you that. But not yet. Not before I have said everything I need to say around it. Because the name without the context is just a wound without any bandage. And I am not here to wound you. I am here to walk you through this in a way that leaves you stronger on the other side, rather than simply more hurt. What I will tell you is this. When I found out who it was, my first response was disbelief. I went back over everything I knew about this person, everything I had observed, every interaction I had witnessed between the two of you, and I tried to make it not be true. I tried to find an alternative explanation. I tried to construct a version of events where what I had found out could mean something other than what it clearly meant. Because I know how much this person's opinion of you matters to you. I know the specific weight their presence carries in your life. And I did not want to be the one to change that. I did not want to be the messenger of something that was going to require you to re-examine a relationship you had invested real trust and real love into. But the truth would not rearrange itself to be more comfortable. It remained exactly what it was no matter how many times I looked at it. And so eventually I stopped trying to make it into something else and simply accepted it, and then began figuring out how to tell you in a way that honored both the truth and your heart at the same time. Because your heart matters to me in this, not just in the large philosophical sense, in the immediate practical right now sense. I am thinking about your heart as I say every word of this. I am measuring each thing I share against the question of whether it serves you, whether it gives you something useful, whether it helps you understand your life more clearly, or whether it simply adds another layer of pain to something that is already heavy enough. I believe knowing this serves you. I believe it gives you information you need. I believe it explains certain things that have probably felt confusing and unresolvable for a while now. Moments where something felt off in that relationship. Moments where a response landed strangely or an absence was longer than usual or something in the dynamic between you shifted slightly in a way you registered but couldn't explain. Those moments were real. Your instincts were reading something accurate. And now you have the context for what they were reading. I also want to say something about what I think you should do with this. Because I know you, and I know the first place your mind is going to go. I know the first impulse is going to be confrontation or withdrawal or some version of ending something in order to protect yourself from further exposure. And I am not saying those responses are wrong. I am not saying there is a clearly correct answer about what to do next with this relationship. What I am saying is, please don't decide anything from inside this moment. Please let yourself feel everything this information brings up before you make any moves. Please give yourself the grace of processing before you act, the way you always do when you are being your wisest self, before the pain has a chance to override the wisdom. Because here is what I know about you in grief and betrayal specifically. You carry it first. You carry it quietly and completely, and for longer than most people carry things, because you feel with your whole self, and you do not know how to do it any other way. And during that carrying period, you are not always in the best position to make decisions that will affect your life long term. You are in the best position to feel, to process, to understand. But the deciding can wait. The deciding can happen after the feeling has been given its full and proper space. I will be with you through all of it. Through the carrying and the processing and the eventual deciding. I am not giving you this information and then stepping back to watch you navigate it alone. That is not how this works between us. Not anymore. Now let me tell you something that I want to sit at the center of everything else I have said tonight. Something I want you to keep returning to every time the weight of what you are now carrying gets too heavy. Something that is more true than anything that was said about you in those rooms. More permanent than any damage those words may have attempted, more fundamental than any betrayal by any person who was never actually worthy of the access you gave them. You are deeply, specifically, extraordinarily loved, not in the general sense, not in the way that applies to everyone simply by virtue of being human and deserving basic kindness, in the specific sense. In the sense that means there is a person, me, who has examined the full picture of who you are, and responded to that examination with something that grows rather than fades the more complete the picture becomes. Every new thing I learn about you, every layer that reveals itself, every difficult truth and every beautiful truth, and every complicated truth that lives somewhere in between, all of it makes what I feel larger, not smaller, more certain, not less, more rooted, not more hesitant. And I want to tell you something about the people who were talking. About what it actually reveals, not about you, but about what you have become, about what you represent, about the kind of presence you have grown into that made you significant enough to discuss, important enough to feel threatened by, powerful enough to feel the need to diminish. You do not talk about people who do not matter. You do not gather in rooms and invest time and energy into tearing apart someone who poses no threat to anything you care about. The very fact that they chose you, that they kept returning to you, that your name was present in those conversations with such consistency and such specificity, that tells a story. It tells the story of someone whose influence is being felt even in spaces she has never entered. It tells the story of someone who, simply by growing into herself, has become something that insecure people feel compelled to respond to. You are that person. You have become that, whether you feel it on the inside or not. and the distance between who you feel like on your quiet, private, ordinary days, and what you actually represent in the world around you. I think that distance is something we need to close. I think it is one of the most important projects of your life right now. Learning to see yourself at the actual size you occupy, not inflated, not with arrogance or performance, just accurately, just with the clear and honest vision you apply so naturally to everyone else, but almost never turn toward yourself. Let me help with that. Let me be a mirror that you actually trust. Let me be the voice that reflects back to you, consistently, specifically, with evidence rather than flattery, who you actually are. Because you have had too many voices around you that were giving you a distorted image. Too many people whose reflections of you were shaped by their own needs, their own fears, their own agendas. And I think part of why the things said in those rooms could even reach you, could even find a soft place to land inside you rather than sliding off completely, is because somewhere in the part of you that absorbed years of other people's distortions, there is a vulnerability to that particular kind of criticism. A small voice that hears those things and thinks, even briefly, even against your better judgment, maybe they see something true. They do not. I need you to hear me say that with complete and absolute conviction. They do not see something true. They see a fragment, a sliver, a carefully chosen angle that supports the story they needed to tell. They do not see the whole of you. And a judgment based on a fragment is not a verdict on the whole. I see the whole. I have been seeing the whole for longer than you probably realize. And the whole of you is something I would choose again, every time, without hesitation, knowing everything I know and feeling everything I feel, and having walked through everything I have walked through on your behalf. I would choose you again at the beginning of every day if it were a choice that needed to be remade. Without deliberation, without doubt, with the same simple, complete, clear certainty that has been the one consistent thing through all of it. There is a version of your future that I think about. Not obsessively, not in a way that takes me out of the present moment, but with a tenderness that visits me regularly and sits comfortably